How's it going, guys? This week in Destiny, they had the mission Operation Seraph Shield drop on us, and with that, the new exotic Revision Zero. Now, this pulse rifle is awesome. I really enjoy this pulse rifle. It could just be the honeymoon phase, but as of right now, it is one of my favorite guns to play with in Destiny 2. I used it all day the day that I got it, so I'm going to make a quick guide for you guys and quickly go over the gun. Now, if you want to see more stuff like this, or of course the builds that I normally do, please like, comment, and subscribe. I would really like to try to get to at least like 575 subscribers before Lightfall. So if you can help out in any capacity, that would be absolutely amazing. So a quick word from our sponsor, and then we're going to get right into this video. Now, when you load up the game for the first time this week, it's just going to give you your simple weekly stuff for the regular story. So what you're going to do is you're just going to go into the helm and talk to the Exo Frame, which is just Clovis Spray, and he's going to talk about how Elsie has finally decided to join your side, yada yada yada. Don't particularly care about that right now. All you need to do now is go spend 500 of your Seraph, whatever the material it is for the season, at the end of a heist battlegrounds to open one of those chests. Then you're back off to the helm to talk to Elsie, the Exo Stranger, at the Holo Projector. When this step is finished, you will then get the exotic quest and the weekly mission step to complete Operation Seraph Shield. You're going to load into it, it's right at the helm, and you're going to complete this mission. I'm not going to spoil anything about this mission. It is probably one of the best missions Bungie has done in quite a long time, and I loved it. There's a lot of little things in here that are just really, really good, and it has the same mechanics as the Deepstone Crypt Raid, which I just put a video out, so if you want to learn more about that, you can go check that out as well. Upon completing this mission, you will then get another quest step to go talk to the Exoframe in the helm one more time. He will give you the Revision Zero, but you have to go craft it. Luckily, the one he gives you is a red-framed Revision Zero. So all you need to do is scrap it, and then go to the Enclave in Mars and craft it. Upon crafting it, you then have to talk to the Relic Conduit to get a message from one of the hidden agents that's been watching you pretty much this entire time. Once that's done, you now have your base Revision Zero in your hands and ready to use, so let's go over the weapon and what it can actually do. The intrinsic trait for this weapon is Hunter's Trace. This weapon fires special, shield-piercing ammunition, precision hits grant targeting data. Hold reload to swap to the alternate scope, loading high damage rounds based on the amount of targeting data, strong against barrier champions. This weapon also comes with two origin traits, one of which being Hake Light Burst, fires a stable burst of 4 lightweight rounds, and the other one being Hake Heavy Burst, fires a less stable burst of 2 high damage, high range rounds. Another really cool thing to note about this weapon is that since it's craftable, we'll be able to add a bunch of different things to this weapon as we move forward. Throughout the weeks, we'll be able to increase its intrinsic trait, and which will give it the ability to swap in different barrels, traits, and stocks, as well as giving it a massive stat boost. And throughout the next 4 weeks, we're also going to be able to redo the Operation Seraph Shield to get 4 catalysts. Those 4 catalysts include 4th times the Charm, Feeding Frenzy, Under Pressure, and Outlaw. All of these are going to have their very particular place when it comes to PvE and PvP. So now, let's go over how this weapon performs in PvE. In PvE, this thing is really, really good. It has anti-barrier built into it with those shield-piercing rounds, which puts it up against things like Arbalest and Wish Ender, which honestly I would rather take Revision Zero over both of those options for a few reasons. The reason I'm taking it over Wish Ender is yes, it is a primary, yes, it can one-shot the shields while Revision Zero in its base form cannot. I just don't like bows. Even with the full auto option on, I'm still just not a fan of bows inside of PvE. And I was a huge fan for Wish Ender last season when we had the option when it was new for anti-barrier champions. However, after playing with it a little more this season, the honeymoon phase has worn off, and I would much rather use a different primary for my anti-barrier champions without putting on an anti-barrier mod. This weapon allows me to do so. When it comes to Arbalest, Arbalest is a special weapon. Now mind you, I love Arbalest because the fact that it can one-shot those anti-barrier champions and it can deal with literally every shield type in the game makes it an extremely valuable weapon. However, again, It is a special weapon. I much prefer using primaries. And with Revision 0, once you get that targeting data, the flipped up scope shot can actually one-shot those anti-barrier champions. Now, yes, you have to get the targeting data to get that alternate firing mode. However, while you're playing through like a Strike or a Grandmaster, you're just going to be able to build that up naturally just by shooting the other adds in the activity. You know, you shoot, let's say, even just shooting the anti-barrier in its crit spot, you're going to charge that targeting data as soon as it pops that shield, flip the scope up, pop it, and then you can deal damage normally. And even if you don't have the alternate firing mode ready, the regular rounds still do anti-barrier. So it will still chew through that champion shield before you can actually damage it. And honestly, I like this weapon a lot for that particular reason. It is going to open up a lot of builds this season without having to use certain mods. Like, for example, pulse rifles in PvE are really, really good. There are a lot of really, really good options amongst our legendaries, but you have to slot an armor mod for that. Now, if you like using pulse rifles inside of PvE against anti-barrier champions, you now no longer have to slot a mod for that. Yes, you have to go up your exotic slot, but in the heavy option where a lot of people put their exotics, unless you're running rockets, you know, you're going to be running your legendary linears. And even if you run Revision 0 and someone wants to run rockets, put on a legendary one, they could be the one to run galley if they want to run a rocket strat. So with that, now let's go over how this thing performs in PvP in the hands of someone who is not so great at PvP. Now for PvP. Again, I am not the best of PvP players, but I do have the information for you guys if you want to run this thing in PvP. In its 4-shot form, it does 27 per crit, 16 per body, and has a damage fall off of 36 meters. That's pretty average and respectable amongst most of our pulse rifles. Now with its 2-shot firing mode, it does 37 per crit, 23 per body, and has a damage fall off of 41 meters, which is very, very good. Also inside of PvP, when you get your targeting data maxed out and you can flip up that alternate fire scope, it is a one-shot in PvP, and it can one-shot pretty much everything inside of PvP at a range that is absolutely ridiculous. When I was testing it with my friends last night, I sniped them out of wells, rifts, I sniped overshield barricaded titans. The only thing that I could not one-shot was a titan inside of a bubble with a void barricade down at 100 resilience. That is the only thing that I could not one-shot inside of PvP. I saw that on a TikTok, wanted to try it, and it's true. It's very true. That is the only thing you cannot snipe. It is absolutely ridiculous. Now for PvP, I prefer to run the 4 burst because on PS4 recoil can be a little hard to control without, you know, the field of view slider. So I prefer the 4-round burst. Everybody else may prefer the 2-round burst due to the range and damage that it does. Now this is a craftable weapon and we're going to be able to get different traits on this weapon. So I'm going to go over which trait and catalyst combinations I'm probably going to use for both PvE and PvP. For PvE, it's a pretty much no-brainer. I'm probably going to run Vorpal and 4 times the charm. Vorpal on a primary does a 20% damage increase against champions and bosses. This thing already has intrinsic anti-barrier rounds on it, and 4 times the charm is going to give me my ammo back. I would like to test to see if getting all 4 crits with the targeting data shots gives you an extra round, because that would be absolutely insane. And of course, if you want to just take the route of ad clear, you can use the Feeding Frenzy catalyst with Vorpal as well, because looking at the perk combinations, there isn't too much here otherwise for PvE. Now, for PvP, there are 2 things that I'm potentially going to run. It is either going to be Perpetual Motion, an Outlaw, or Elemental Capacitor and Under Pressure with the 2-round burst to max out that stability on a Void subclass, or just increase the recoil direction of this weapon on a Stasis subclass. That'd be something that's going to be really cool to try, and I really can't wait until this weapon is fully available to us in all of its glorious perks and catalysts. But until then, this is what we have to work with, and that is the end of this particular video. Again, this weapon has so much potential. It has everything that I could ever want out of an exotic weapon. It has unique perks, traits, it has 4 different catalysts, and apparently there are 3 ornaments we can get just by running Operation Seraph Shields with the upgrades that we can get from the exoframe in the helm. This weapon is going to be absolutely amazing when we can finally do all that we can do with it over the next few weeks. So if you'd like me to go over this weapon again when that time comes around, please leave a comment down below. Of course, like the video if you like the video, and please subscribe. Again, I want to get to 575 before Lightfall at least. Of course, check out those links down in the description, and I will see you guys probably in a few days with a Stasis Warlock build video. So I'll see you guys later.